did? Okay, so you're awesome.
Waiting for the green light,
It is
green
on.
Oh,
light.
is that when you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Good evening and what up, though, Detroit? Welcome to In Session on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and what, Twitter?
Periscope or something?
No, we're not on Periscope
no
anymore.
more,
That's
okay.
It's now Twitter.
Twitter, that's
Yeah.
correct, yes.
So
Okay.
please like, share, subscribe, follow us, and make comments. We would love to hear from you. So I am Dr. T, and this
Dr.
is,
Fishta.
and we are joined today by Pam. I don't want to mess up your last
That's
name.
okay, Srapata.
Rapata.
Strapata.
Strapata.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Strapata. And we're going to be talking about mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, and as I was going through Pam's bio, she works with core current disorders, assessments, and things of that nature. Very interesting topic, and it's been growing for the last several years,
Yes.
and lots to talk about there.
Yeah. Pam, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into the whole mind, body, and soul.
Okay. It actually started back in 2008, and I was just going through, I guess, what a lot of people go through these days, just a kind of an identity crisis and a change in life. And I had a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts on my mind, unanswered questions, I would say, that I was confused about. And so I just kind of fell into it, really, so to speak. And my first kind of sort of call awakening towards it was I just started working out a lot. That's why my company name is Spiritual Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And when I worked out and got into my body, that's when I could really feel my feelings. And so through that, I just became more and more aware of how maybe my past experiences shaped me. And my awareness just skyrocketed. And it was primarily through the fitness as the first modality, as the first catalyst to really increase that. So it started back, like I said, in 2008. And from there, I just kept going, like one thing after the next. So started with the fitness, and I started meditating, then I started doing psychotherapy on myself, and I started getting involved at Haven, which I worked at the crisis line. I did a lot of volunteer work in domestic violence. So really that would probably be the basis of how everything got started.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that your past helped form who you were today.
Right.
And oftentimes, we work with clients that kind of know that, but sometimes they're unaware of how their past really shapes and mold who they are today, especially from childhood.
Yes.
Our formative years and all of the experiences that we come with are really what shapes our perspectives, our worldviews, and even how we engage with the world. So I'm glad that you actually brought that up.
And that was a big part of my journey, is because we repress a lot of those emotions and feelings from childhood, which is very normal and actually a survival skill. But if we repress them for too long, we make a lot of decisions, behaviors unconsciously.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I do believe that certain experiences or memories take more energy to be repressed because of the pain that they cause us, right? And then psychoanalysts would call that the defense mechanisms, right?
Absolutely.
But these energies that often could make us anxious. But you said something really interesting there, Pam, your own psychotherapy. Are you referring to self-discovery process through your past, analyze? How is that? What's the essence of that?
Yeah, so once I got into my body, I had even more and more questions, and I met a psychotherapist. And at that time, I really didn't even know much about a psychotherapist. And I started to see her for therapy on myself. So I am a psychotherapist today, helping other people, but that's how I started my journey. And through that cognitive behavior and a psychodynamic approach, I learned more and more about my repressed emotions, and they came to the surface. And then when I did the fitness, this is how my company's body, spirit, mind, in that order, because it came upon me that as I was dabbling in this, that I would do the body work, and then I would have endorphins, right? All my good hormones would increase, and then my anxiety and my depressive hormones would decrease, so I'd be more open, right? And that's when I'd release the defense mechanisms. And then if I meditated after that, then I would further tone down the negative thoughts and leave more space to be open, because your meditation is very powerful. You get your breath and you get a sense of calm, your anxiety reduces. And then after that, if you follow that up with psychotherapy, your therapy is going to be all the more better. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. Is that Van Bessel who has that book that says
Body keeps the score.
The Body Keeps the Score?
Yes.
And it really talks about how we hold trauma.
Exactly.
And how it is
powerful. It has a mind of its own.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it'll come out as either headaches, or it may
Yes.
come out as stomach aches, or just muscle tension, or even heart attack,
Exactly.
aneurysms.
It could be very severe too.
Well, because it has to do with psychic energy, right? So it's being suppressed, meaning it's not being processed in healthy ways, right? You're talking about physical activity, meditation, and so forth. And oftentimes people self-medicate, right?
Absolutely.
To help those defenses, so to speak. Obviously, that's an adverse effect and so forth. But even this meditation, right? We talk about seems to be the buzzword. But, just to heed the conversation, Pam.
Yes.
If it's so good, why aren't we all meditating and kind of gearing ourselves out of the woods, emotionally
That's a
speaking?
good question.
So I just want to push you a little bit there.
Yeah.
So
I think, if you're not familiar with it, you're going to be afraid of it, right? That's the most common thing. Or you might not even realize what you're getting out of it. So my objective is, when I started doing the meditation, it was 5 or 10 minutes. I sometimes I do it longer, and I used what's called a chakra clearing meditation, which is really good for beginners, because you visualize and you get into your body a little bit more. But if you see something change, which I did, any day that I did a meditation, I felt more balanced, I got more creative ideas, so I was hooked by that.
And you slept better too, did you not? Yeah.
And so when I try to not convince people, but tell them about meditation, if they can see the connection, they're going to keep doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where if they can't, then, you're just thinking, why am I breathing and why am I doing this? And another reason people don't do it is because they think they have to spend hours, or they visualize it as being in the Himalayas or something. And I have a very practical approach. We have to combine spirit in our everyday life, right? We can't all just run away to the Himalayas. So I have something that's practical that I've used for years that I try to share so people feel more comfortable.
And I know some people have a problem just sitting in silence. So for some people, and meditation, I'm going to say, it's not the go-to answer for everyone.
Correct.
Especially if you're someone who has auditory hallucinations. Maybe meditation is not the best thing for you to be doing.
Right.
So we want to be mindful when we're giving out this advice. We're giving it so that we can give a tool for individuals, but it's not for everyone. Consult your doctor or your mental health professional if you want to try any of these techniques that we do mention here on the show.
Now, self-disclosure, Pam. I tried meditating, right? And I just seem to fail every time, right?
Okay.
And then I look at that, either be the monk population or other populations in different side of the world. They seem calm. It doesn't matter what you say to them. They respond. It's just, you can tell they're naturally meditative, if that's even a thing, right? So what's up with that? What's
I really believe that the more in tune you become with yourself, you'll automatically be able to meditate. So it's just something, if you're not comfortable, like in silence, for example, it's not going to happen, right? So first, some awareness of who you are, maybe some psychotherapy to begin with, maybe getting into your body before you even think, hey, I'm going to meditate. Also, meditation is a form of relaxation. It can be done, we think of it as deep breathing and saying Om or chanting, but meditative just means that your mind is off, that you're just really you're in the moment with what you're doing. So it could be playing the piano. I mean, so traditionally we think of meditation as just breathing, but it's really a form of a relaxed state where you're in the moment. Does that make sense?
So it's more about connecting with yourself.
Yes, and the breath happens to be a common way to do that, but it's like you said, it's not for everybody. So even when I introduce it, there's so many different kind of meditations. It could be in the form of tapping, emotional freedom technique, where you tap different parts of your body, and in the sense that's a meditation.
Show us that technique. Show us that tapping technique. Let our audience see what does that look like.
Okay, it's very good to see, and I'll show it in a second. But I will tell you, in this past 6 months, any client that comes to me that does it immediately tells me their anxiety just went down just by tapping alone, not even having like verbal sentences for each one, because there's all kinds of things you can do with emotional freedom technique, but just by doing it alone. It's an extremely powerful technique that's endorsed by Bessel van der Kolk. And so, you know, a lot of people will think, well, I'm tapping my face, or what does that do? But these are world-renowned scientists that have really endorsed this technique as viable solution for trauma too. I mean, a lot of different things. And there's meridian points in your body that they've said that have stored specific kind of emotions or specific kind of feelings. And so that's why when I show you the tapping, they've selected these areas. It's free, it's simple, and it works. Like I said, I've had anecdotal, you know, practical evidence the past 6 months to a year where my client will face me and be like, I feel it, and it feels so good to give them something that they can walk away with.
And before you show us
Yes.
that, Pam, it's clearly a psychophysiological effect that's taking place, right?
Yes.
There's so much at place. It
say that.
seems simple,
Yes.
and it seems so simple that we won't even give it a time because I
Right.
got better things to do, right?
Right.
But also there's another important part of this related to the mind, because you are asking someone to kind of let go that
Yeah.
perceived control that we have over the world, like let it just let
Yes.
it be and deal internally with something, or not deal with it at all, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to point that out, that it sounds easy and simple, but I don't think it is.
It's not. I started meditating probably 5 years
That's
ago.
why you're so calm, Dr. T.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I got it now.
But it was hard. The first time I meditated, I only did 30 seconds.
And that's what I also tell people. We don't have to look at the hour. That's exactly right. Try
Yeah,
for 30 seconds
I
and work
tried
your way
it,
up.
and I meditated, and I was like, okay, this is enough. I was like, 30 seconds?
It's
What? I'm like, okay, that's enough for me. But I did the 30 seconds for a week.
There you go.
Then I did a minute the following week, and I just increased every
And that's
week.
what I'd like people to know, because that's how you start. You don't want to say, I'm going to do an hour a day, right? And even 10 deep breaths can make a big difference that take like 30 seconds or 40 seconds to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm doing deep breaths now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I want to talk a bit about the breaths too, how they can be done in a way that's proven, or you use with your clients, so to speak. But yeah, I'll let you take it from here as
Okay.
far as the techniques or methods.
Yeah. So back to the emotional freedom technique is you take your fingertips, and it's a little bit of a vigorous tap.
And we're going to do it with you.
Sure.
We're gonna,
3 to 6 taps on each area. You don't want to do any more than that. And you want to start on your cheekbone right here, right below the eye. And so you'll just do 1, 2, 3. And then you want to do, every side you want to do the opposite side. So then you go to the opposite side. 1, 2, 3. Then you'll go on the eyebrow area. 1, 2, 3. Then you'll do the opposite side. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll go ahead and do right under the nose. There you go. And then we'll take it to the temple here. So it's like a vigorous tap, 2 to 3 fingers, and right below the collarbone here. 1, 2, 3. That's
I
it.
can hear that too.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Other side. And then underneath your armpit, right on the side there. Yep. 1, 2, 3. Where your lats are. Other side. 1, 2, 3. And then right on top of your head, right kind of in the center. Yep. 1, 2, 3.
So when my papa used to pop us on the head, he was really trying to make us be
All
more
meditation.
aware.
So emotional freedom technique, EFT, you can look it up online and you can read more about it. And you can also look up Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, and he'll have a lot to say about it as well. So that's one of them.
I love that. I know a technique that I use even doing like telecounseling is guided imagery. Are you
Yes.
familiar with that?
I am.
Talk to our guests about guided imagery and what that is.
Okay, so I don't personally do a lot of guided imagery. That's not my mode. But basically, we have the power, the brain has the power to visualize anything. And we'd say, like, let's say we're at a beach, for example. So a guided meditation would be a visualization of a beach, and then they would go on and tell you about the birds and, you know, what the sky looks like. And basically, it's a way to picture that and use your mind, because you'll release the same endorphins as if you were really on the beach. You'll have the same feelings, the same impact in your body physiologically as if you were on it. So it's a technique to help people feel calm and really embrace their power. I mean, we really have the power to put ourselves in any situation and make ourselves feel good.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching In Session on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, with Dr. T and Dr. Fishta, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Also, as we battle the COVID-19 pandemic, it's clear that misinformation can be just as deadly as the awful virus and spread just as quickly. Myths are spreading on the internet and social media, and it's important to know the facts to keep our community healthy. The vaccines offered through Wayne County Community Public Health are scientifically proven to be safe. It's important that each one of us to get vaccines scheduled as soon as you are able to. Visit waynecounty.com/COVID-19 to get the latest information.
All right. And we are live, and we want to hear from you. So if you would like to join the conversation and talk to Pam, give us a call at 313-355-6018. Again, that number is 313-355-6018. And we are talking body, mind, and spirit. And we just finished talking about a tapping technique as well as a guided imagery. And I think that's something that we all can use right now. You know, we just got this verdict with George Floyd. There's a lot of stress going on. I was talking to one of my colleagues today about how she feels being a single black mother raising a son, and how she feels stressed out and had to call off work because she's so stressed and overwhelmed that she can't talk to clients right now.
Right.
And then we have still dealing with COVID. We've had, I don't know how many deaths thus far we've had shootings globally. Yeah, we still have shootings going on. So the world is in such chaos right now. And I really think this is something that is much needed.
Yes.
And when everyone is asking, what can I do? What can I do? This is something that you can do.
Right.
And like you said, it's free.
And you're in charge of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in addition to what we're talking about, Pam, knowing that you worked also you work with co-occurring, the substances seem to be a problem anymore. There has been an increase. We were already in trouble prior to COVID, obviously, with opioid epidemics and all that. And the co-occurring, right? There's basically some form of mental health issue, and there is a substance abuse, and they co-occur, so to speak. But do you still suggest similar approaches with respect to meditation, some of these ways? What are your thoughts there?
Well, co-occurring, like you said, is the mental health combined with the substance use. And part of the reason I went into substance use is it's just so prevalent, like you guys have mentioned, in every aspect. And typically we think of addiction as, you know, alcohol or opioids, but addiction manifests in a variety of ways, you know, whether it's spending money, whether it's gambling, it could be sex. So it's a very, very interesting topic and very pervasive in everything. And so it just, part of it is you can do the treatment and therapy, but all of these tools that I've mentioned also help with substance use and addiction. They go hand in hand for mental health and addiction.
Right. There's actually been studies that have talked about the benefits of using meditation and mindfulness with substance abuse clients. And there are even some substance abuse treatment centers that integrate mindfulness into their programs. So we're really seeing the benefit of this in the West. Because we know that this is an Eastern tradition that has been practiced for years. And now people in Western culture are becoming more familiar with it. And I think we need more practitioners like you to bring more awareness to it and to help us heal internally.
Right.
For me, I think meditation really does help us heal from the inside, and then it's reflected outside.
Right.
And it's something that you can take home and practice yourself, right? That's the value of it. It's not like
Right.
you always have to see your therapist, do it with your therapist.
Exactly.
No,
You can get
learn.
trained and you
Correct.
learn and
Correct.
you observe, and then you can adopt your own style and take it on yourself.
Yeah. And then there's apps for it.
Yes.
There's YouTube videos. I mean, you can find mindfulness techniques anywhere on the internet now.
Yes.
I know there's a couple of apps that I use, like Calm is one of the apps that I
have a
use.
couple that I have on mine as well. That I'm kind of checking them out for my clients too as well.
Yeah. So even with you, so you've been doing this for how long now again?
15 years.
15 years. So you have, in 15 years, would you say that you've mastered
Mastered what?
the techniques of meditation?
No.
And okay.
No, I'm not. So when I meet with my clients, my specialty is more the psychotherapy and the fitness, and the meditation is what I would say is that I give them techniques and introductions to it. Does that make sense? So that's, I have it in my business model because I believe in it, but it's not a specialty but I introduce them to, 5 or 6 different varieties and get them going, if that makes sense.
So basically, Pam, your focus in your practice is obviously psychotherapy, health or physical fitness,
Yes.
and also giving them ways to they can practice ELB meditations or other coping ways.
Yep.
Now, how important is that one you assess as a clinician? And I want those who are sitting on both sides, clinicians or not, to hear this.
Yes.
How important is that you assess, say, mental health, but you also look in detail for possible potential substance abuse problems?
So when I get clients, they'll come in, let's say, for mental health, and we want to take them where they're at. Does that make sense? We don't want to be saying, well, you have even if we suspect that there's a substance use. So my approach is, they come in for depression. That's what we're going to start talking about. As we develop a rapport, non-judgment, trust, those are the main things. It may come to the surface from them. And what I've noticed is the less we label people, the less we judge people,
Yes.
they come out and say it themselves because they're already so ashamed of it or may not realize so many different things. And I've had an intern observe me and say, well, aren't you putting her in danger and calling her out for, having alcohol or whatever? I always do tell my clients if I feel something is dangerous. But I had a client and I let her just keep talking about it, and she was in so much denial, but I didn't say anything, and eventually she said it herself. And so I think with addiction, it has such a strong connotation of shame and all these different negative. I don't think it's upon a clinician or anyone to tell somebody if they are or not. I think it's just built on a matter of trust and establishing that trust and just understanding who they are as a person. It's going to naturally come up, if that makes sense.
But that sounds like more mindfulness anyway.
Yeah.
That you're allowing the client to come to their own realization about what's happening in their life, and you're giving them that opportunity to really explore and do that self-assessment and to come to their conclusion. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I do have a substance abuse problem that I need to get taken care of, or at least look into it. So I think for the most part, when we do have clients that come in for mental health issues, we kind of just address the mental health issue, and then the client, like you state, will disclose that, I'm having some substance abuse issues, or, oh, I had a DUI last week,
Well, and, on the biopsychosocial, you will ask some general questions of their substance use history. So I take, we do have that, but then we just let them come up with what they're being treated, and most often, really, they'll just come up on their own with it.
Yeah, because what's the alternative from a clinician's point of view, right? Like you said, meet them where they're at. Otherwise, according to the stages of change that often clinicians use, if they're saying pre-contemplation, saying, oh, you got to quit, otherwise you're being heard, right?
It's your done deal.
You lost them.
Exactly,
that's that, right? So that makes sense. Just to explain a bit as why this is approached, because if it would work for us to say, listen, you are having a major problem, your problem is addiction, well, that's done.
Yes.
That's the end of story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no chance of working through any of that. Then
I do work and do risk assessments for opioids and for people who in chronic pain, and we do what's called a risk assessment so that we understand, what kind of medications, like if they are taking too much of one or happen to be addicted. But our general approach overall, all of us, is that we want to, even the form, we want to make it so that they're already pathological when they walk in the door. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And right there, it turns everybody off.
that's correct.
And it's a epidemic because we're all involved. And when you blame or shame or don't treat a person with dignity, you lost them right there. And so part of the problem is the physicians, doled it out, and people don't know. They're not trained in how much opioid they should take. Some people got it when they were injured and their brain was already vulnerable or young, and so right then they got addicted. And so I'm not blaming it all on them either, but I'm saying it's a problem that's pervasive because of a lot of things.
Exactly.
And when we automatically, it's not really their fault sometimes if they got addicted even. Does that make sense?
Especially when you're talking about people that are using prescription medication and they've been prescribed that by a doctor and they're following the doctor's prescription.
Right.
However, we know with certain medications that the body builds up a tolerance and it needs more.
Yes.
So
no matter almost who you are.
Correct. Yep, it's indiscriminate.
So I think the approach overall with the substance use is to, treat everybody with dignity, respect, remove all the labels, and seek deeper what's at hand. Not, you took opioids or you overdosed on this. Those are the surface labels, right? But to seek deeper, get to know them as a person, and that's where we're going to solve the problems.
Right. So what I'm hearing is instead of using chemicals as a coping mechanism, let's try meditation.
It's fitness, body work of any kind, yoga. Swimming.
Now, what does
huge.
yoga do? What does because that involves what, a lot of stretching and
a lot of poses. Again, trying to. Some of them are static too, so trying to stay in place.
What do you mean? Some of them are static.
So if you do, I think it's Ashtanga yoga. There's more poses. They're not flows, and you hold a pose, and so that takes a hold of your stillness. Just like when you said you're breathing, you just don't like it because everything's still. So it trains you in a way of a form of meditation.
That'll be good for someone who maybe has ADHD.
Correct. And it
or
can
OCD or was forcing them
together.
to
one can try.
I think it's Hatha that has more of the poses where you stay still. So Vinyasa is the one that I teach at a local studio, but it does a lot. I mean, I can't
now
tell
what is
you.
Vinyasa? What is that?
So Vinyasa is a flow-oriented yoga, okay, like the warrior poses and
show us. I'm
You
gonna
want
do
me
it
to
with
show?
you. Yeah, I'm gonna do it with you.
Okay.
I'll do it with you.
Okay. So
I gotta hold the mic. I gotta hold the microphones for you. Go ahead, you guys.
Okay, so I'm gonna come back here so I can be in full view.
So let's start with the sun salutation. So we just take our arms up. We inhale, really reach those arms up, and then exhale and take them down. And then let's take it up one more time. Inhale, and then take it over. Just bend over to the side. Perfect.
Okay, your side.
Yep. And then take it over the other side. Perfect. And then just take it over. Reach it out if you can. Just elongate that spine. Okay, flatten that back out, and then just let yourself hang. Just take your hand, just take your fingers and let yourself hang. You feel that blood flow to the head. Feel your back of your legs, your hamstrings, your calves, and you just roll up slowly. Slowly roll up. Okay. So that's just a basic flow, right? There's downward dogs, there's all kinds of stuff. And you don't have to be athletic, you don't have to have a background, you just start where you are.
Okay.
But it incorporates both the meditation and the body. So you've now done two parts all in one because you're breathing through the motion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I actually felt that my back loosened up a little bit.
Do you feel better now, Dr.
I do.
Okay.
I feel a little looser now. Not like I can go on a 5K, but I feel looser.
When I first got into fitness, my head went upside down on a certain machine, and when I came back up, my whole attitude and my whole demeanor was different because there was more blood flow to my head. I didn't understand it. You might understand it with having more of a scientific background, but that's how powerful when we move our body. just
well, you're
moving it
pumping
like right now.
oxygen to your vitals. I mean,
Yes.
it's just taking the simple task of physical activity, right?
Right, and
that's
just something, this took 10 seconds and you already feel a difference.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching In Session on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe.
In addition, as we battle COVID-19 pandemic, it's clear that misinformation can be just as deadly as the awful virus and spread just as quickly. Myths are spreading on the internet and social media, so it's important to know the facts to keep our community healthy. The vaccines offered through Wayne County Public Health are scientifically proven to be safe. It's important that each one of us get the vaccine scheduled as soon as you are able to. Visit waynecounty.com/COVID-19 to get the latest information.
And we are back with In Session with Dr. T and Dr. Fishta and I'm going to say it, our very special guest,
Yes.
Pam. And we're talking about body, mind, and spirit.
Yes, and the order I have, sorry to interrupt you, but body, spirit, mind.
Body, spirit. Okay, I'm going to get this
a
right
reason.
for how Pam has hers because it's strategically worded.
Right.
So, when you decided to do your studio, what was the your main driving force for doing that?
My main driving force was that I fell upon this intervention by chance, right? Because I felt an awareness. I went into my body, then I meditated, and then I did therapy. And I realized my whole life changed. I had a lot more awareness. I started living the life that I wanted to live.
And what does that mean? You started living the life you wanted to live.
Changed my career into something I was more passionate about. I realized that I love fitness, so I became a fitness instructor. I mean, just everything I did was more aligned, if that makes sense, with who I was. And so I wanted nothing more than, found this intervention that I thought, is really cool. And I wanted nothing more than to help people, because I think that if you line up those three things, you can realize your full potential or just live a higher quality of life. And I just wanted to share that with people.
It's kind of like on the same lines what we were talking about last week with Joyce Martyr, where she was talking about how you can become how your mental health can influence your physical state. So you're kind of on the same line when your mind is clear and your body is, I don't know what's the word for it.
Relaxed.
Well, and you said it. You're saying by body, spirit, mind, or mind, body,
Yeah,
whatever
what's with the
but
order,
it's
yeah.
lined up. Okay, I'll tell you about the order, but everything's lined up, right? You hear that with Deepak Chopra. You hear that with a lot of people that talk. And when you're not lined up, then something's off, right? So really, it's about lining up your soul, because you mentioned the word soul earlier, your mind and your body, and you'll hear that in so many different avenues. This is just one style, like you said. There's so many different ways of getting there that I fell upon, changed my life, and I thought, hey, I'm going to write about it. I'm going to
change somebody else's life, right?
Yes.
Because that's what this is all about. We're all in this field to help change other people, and for some of us, I know for me, it's to help people find their purpose.
Yeah.
So,
and this has all helped me find my purpose too. So it's that too.
because you have to have a clear mind in order to do that.
Yes.
You can't find your
That's
purpose
it.
if your mind is cloudy or foggy and you have all this junk in there. You have to clear all that junk and cobwebs out of your head in order to move forward.
Yes. And you were asking me about the order.
Yeah, I wonder
So-
if it has some significance.
Yes, and that's why. So normally, most people will say mind, body, spirit. That's kind of the typical name. So I came up with body, spirit, mind in that order for a reason, like you said. And if you first do the body work, right? It could be anything. Like I said, everybody's got their own style and what works for them. It could be yoga, it could be swimming, it could be just stretching, it could be running 10 miles. Everybody has different levels of how to get into their body. When you get into your body, your endorphins, your dopamine, all of those good chemicals, serotonin, they all go up. So you get into a kind of a happier state, so to speak.
So more of a
Your
euphoric type of feeling.
yeah, your cortisol, stress hormones, anxiety, your depressive hormones decrease, right? So you automatically in a more open state. You're going to be less defensive, correct? After
So
you
it
do that.
seems like it also calms the amygdala as well.
Yes, perfect. Yep, calms the amygdala. So if you're trauma oriented, maybe one of the primary ways for you to open up is because you've just done the body work, otherwise you won't, right? And other clinicians have talked about this in their own way. Like I said, everybody will kind of have their own angle. So you start with a body work of the choice you come up with your client. So we're not dictating ways, because whatever works for them, they get into their body, right? It could even be a massage. Maybe they can't move around a lot. So once you have those hormones, you're in a more relaxed state. Let's say you do 5 minutes of meditation. Again, we're not forcing you've got to deep breathe in this way. It could be the tapping. It could just be any kind of breathing. It just could be 10 deep breaths. You're further now relaxing, right? Because when you deep breathe, you put yourself in a more relaxed state. Your negative thoughts go down. In fact, all the thoughts go down, which makes you more open. So now you've taken the body, you've already opened it up with the endorphins, right? The dopamine, the serotonin. And then with the meditation, you're even more relaxed. Your cortisol's probably more down. So you're going to be more open. So then, let's say, following that, you go to your therapist. What do you think the session's going to be like? It's going to be more effective, right?
Because you're more open.
Exactly.
An in-depth
And
session.
I fell upon this because I would go work out, and then I happened to meditate, and then I happened to go, so and then it just kept
worked
coming.
for you.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's the same thing, but these are broad concepts.
But generally, that's how these things come in play, and how grounded theories are usually formed.
Right.
It's based on somebody's experience, and they say, hey, let me try this out and write about it and see if it worked for me. Let me see if it's going to work for someone else.
It makes logical sense too, though.
Absolutely.
And so when you're in therapy, if you're highly defensive and your cortisol's going up, are you going to open up?
No, absolutely not.
Right. And I notice it every time I work out. If I have a conversation right after, it's going to be a lot different than if I hadn't. And I fell upon it, but it was like when you observe something that strong, you felt it. That's proof to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that, to me, when that happened and it kept happening over and over again, it's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And this is like a way of a style that people can adopt and say, hey, I'm going to try it this way.
I like that, because even some, it's just like your neurotransmitters are just firing right after after you do a workout. Everything is just sparked.
Yep.
So I get that. I get that.
And you'd probably be more informed or more open to your trauma, which is hard to talk about anyway. So a lot of trauma therapies involve body work too, and they're constantly learning more and more about trauma, all the time. Like Bessel van der Kolk, he's leading the way, and I know there's, studies just happening. They're just really unleashing so many different things about trauma. But at a basic level, if we start moving the body where the trauma's stored, body keeps a score, right? Then at least we can start unlocking a little bit of it and then take it from there.
Absolutely. I love the direction of this conversation.
Yeah, so Pam, let me ask you this. Do you suggest that people, before, say, they do therapy or some other event, right? Do you suggest some of these exercises, so to speak, prior to that, sounds like?
Prior to going to therapy?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, let's say you've got a lot going on and you're, trying to do therapy and you haven't gotten into your body yet. I highly recommend where you're at. Like I said, that's the key. It's not about running a marathon. It's not about what Jody down the road is doing. It's developing technique that's safe for you, that you enjoy. Something you enjoy is always going to help. Getting into your body, even if it's for 10 minutes, and trying it out. Yeah. There's no way it can hurt, because we already know that any kind of exercise is going to do that. We know that. Everybody knows that, right?
Absolutely.
So Pam, COVID is still around, and it's it's heartbreaking to see. It's heartbreaking to see what's happening in India and Brazil and some of these countries are just horrifying stories. But are you seeing an increase in demand for your services? My hope is you say yes, but you tell me what.
Worldwide? Or you mean?
No, I mean in your own practice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, people are, COVID took a lot out on people. So people are more depressed, more anxious. Yes. And let's say somebody was depressed before COVID, it just got worse. So suicides went up. I think, everything has gone up. So
including substance abuse and so forth.
When you have more time, for a year, most of the time we couldn't even go.
Exactly. Couldn't even go outside our homes.
Yeah, with respect to your practice, is there, are you doing anything as a practitioner, clinician? Are you doing anything different, given that some of the rise in anxiety, depression is due to COVID? Is there a different approach, generally speaking?
Well, one of them is that we are doing more telehealth.
Yeah.
And so it makes it easier for people to talk because they don't have to leave, and they still get the face-to-face. And going forward, I think we won't drop that. It'll be a hybrid model. So I think that is beneficial to everybody. So I think that's something that we've adapted to because of COVID.
So how do you incorporate your mindfulness or the meditation into telehealth? How do you do that?
Well, one of them I just demonstrated, so I demonstrate with them because we
So
have the
face
use
to
of-
face.
Yeah, we have the video, so and we can still do meditation together because of the technology. So in many ways, it hasn't stopped. I still believe in face-to-face counseling, but I do think that having video conferencing forever as a backup, if somebody can't make it for weather reasons or for what have you, is a really good, powerful thing to have.
The younger generation seems to do better with it. I think it's the
Yes,
elderly
they do.
that
No,
they're still. And we had the
The younger
Yes.
ones are like, yeah, sign me up, and then the other ones are,
Exactly.
oh, can I come in? I'm like, well, it's not a good week,
Right.
we had an expert on dream analysis actually
Okay.
Yeah,
a few
Dr.
weeks
Jake
back.
Johnson.
Yeah, from a Harvard graduate and
Okay.
pretty knowledgeable in the area of dreams. But also he talked about how the elderly people, even when they dream in black and white, because when they grew up there was a lot of black and
wow.
white, including TV.
Yeah.
And the younger generations, they actually dream in colors, right? So there's a fundamental, I think,
There's difference, yeah.
neuropsychophysiological changes
Absolutely.
that are
Yes.
taking place
Absolutely.
that we just don't know what it means,
Yeah.
right? So that's
50
why.
years from now, they'll be dreaming in Technicolor.
Yeah.
And we'll be the old people still
Right.
dreaming in colors.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
One dimensional.
But in many ways, what COVID brought out is that we can actually treat more people because of the telehealth. I
Correct,
think
and then
that's huge.
you have the availability of clinicians. Then you
Yes.
have certain areas that don't have enough clinicians.
Right.
People's drive and all kinds
Exactly.
of I think.
And
it's
it's more
actually made it-
flexibility too.
Yeah.
with
So the
that.
hybrid sounds really good. Those who want to attend in the office, hopefully they'll have that options, and those who still benefit through telehealth, then they should have that option as well.
Yeah,
So I think that's one change that's coming probably for good moving
Yeah.
forward.
And we get more continuity of care because
Correct.
it's easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Correct. We did actually in a couple places try to run some numbers there, and it seems to be the case. We haven't gone to the bottom of that yet, because that would also show that if people are attending more therapy and continuing longer sessions, they may get something out of it, meaning
Yes.
that the quality is not compromised, but we don't really know yet.
Right. It's early to say.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So.
Do
okay.
you think a person's quality of life increases as they do meditation or any form of mindfulness? Is there?
I mean, for sure. Any kind of awareness that you have, even let's say you have a problem, any kind of like emotional problem, maybe you're
Or pain, because you
Or
said you
pain.
also see clients that have
Chronic pain.
Yeah, so how does that help someone that's in chronic pain? You would think that meditation wouldn't help with that.
right because then they're feeling it more, right?
Exactly.
When you shut the brain off, which is the idea of meditation, puts you in a relaxed state, you're open to new ideas. So when we have pain, chronic pain in our knee, and we've dealt with it, and we realize because I do this, and I'm not going to do this anymore, whatever mindset you have, we stay in that mindset, all of us, right? We don't separate the forest from the trees because we're in it, and we're like gravitating with all this pain. If we meditate, we calm down a little bit, and we're open. We're maybe open to, hey, maybe I can stretch, or maybe another idea of how to resolve this pain, or let me conquer this pain, kind of mind over matter. So there's a lot, your brain changes physiologically, your brain waves when you meditate, when you take in more oxygen. Does that make sense? So,
And I noticed that Deepak Chakra, when I do his meditation as well.
okay.
So he'll say, if you feel it, acknowledge it, and then recite the chant
Okay.
that whatever mantra
Okay.
that he gave us, and then he says that usually the pain will subside because you can't focus on the pain
I gotcha.
while you're doing the mantra.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't suffer from pain, so I don't know if that actually works. I think I might have to have somebody try it
Yeah.
so we can
I
figure
mean,
that out.
they do say in general, if you're not paying too much attention to it, it can subside. So maybe that's what he's going with
They
the
have
mantra.
studies actually around the world with woman giving birth, right? In certain languages, the word pain is associated with something good, actually, and the word pain is associated with something horrible, horrifying. And they've gone to hospitals and measured both the amount of pain for, a woman giving birth, right? And those who the language seems to be lighter on the word pain itself, they had less pain. They or at least they reported less pain. Now, the experiences generally, when you take a lot of people, should be very similar, right? With respect
You would
to
think.
right. So there's got to be some to that I don't think we understand yet as science or as profession.
Well, we know pain is a state of mind too.
Yes.
You know,
Sure.
it's all
Sure.
it's all about
essential
our
command, right?
Right. It's all about how we perceive. You know,
Yes.
you stomp your toe, and 10 seconds is that just hurt, and then you stomp it again, and it's like, oh shit, it's so.
We, like I said, I do risk assessments on chronic pain patients, Insight, and one of the things we're building there is a behavioral center to provide counseling. So we all realize, right, pain is a manifestation of a lot of different things. So structurally, there is some physical pain, somatically, psychologically, emotionally. So where we're coming in now is that come in and talk to us like a therapy session, right? And I've had people in the past, not currently where I'm at because we just started it there, whose pain subsided because their emotional wounds that they talked about got released.
Yeah.
So, it's just a complex thing. It's
Sure.
not just the structural, right? That, hey, I broke my leg and here's the pain. And so we're trying to do that now and build a whole center at this pain clinic so that we can offer
And
them
as
counseling.
evolution, as human, right? We cried, we had tears. Tears literally produce chemicals that is meant to help with pain, right? So we, we get hurt in our arm, the brain gets the signal, I'm hurt here, it hurts so bad, you cry because it hurts.
Right.
We get emotional pain, the brain gets the signal, we do what? We cry because it hurts, right? It's
Yes.
just not enough tears
Right.
to actually cure the emotional pain,
And the
right?
depression, people say they're in pain, right, when they're
That's correct.
depressed.
Correct.
Just even with children, have you ever seen a child fall, and then they kind of get up, and then their mouth is open, nothing is coming out, but they watch everybody else, and then they
When
start
mama
crying.
comes,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
heard it, like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, does it really hurt, or you
Right.
just? So it's kind of. I get what you're saying. Is
Right.
basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And so if people feel safe and they have emotional wounds, then maybe that some of that pain, emotional pain comes out, and then the physical pain as well. which
I
is-
like that concept,
Yeah.
and we see that, and even when we do our sessions with clients, when we are working with clients healing from trauma, you can see
Some
when
of the
that
release.
yes during the session when they have literally have some people haven't come to accept whatever issue it was. You can see the expression on their face.
Right.
Sometimes you can even literally see the heaviness lift from their shoulders.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, I
so
agree.
it's just really amazing.
Think about hypochondriasis, right? Basically is some form of physical pain that is converted through some anxiety. So
Right.
anxiety is converted into physical pain.
Right.
Now, these folks who suffer with hypochondriasis, they actually have pain because often they argue with family. You're making this up. You go to the doctor. Your knee hurts. Now your heart. Now your head, and the
keeps going.
the pain keeps moving, right? And
Right.
the doctor chasing the pain. But actually, they are experiencing
They
pain.
are,
Yes.
yes.
Right? So, and there's the caveat there that I think a lot of people don't understand, and that's why you get this family tension oftentimes between them. Often teenagers will experience significant hypochondriasis, right? So that leads to thinking that there has to be some mechanisms that we don't fully understand how it is actually happening. How does anxiety turn into pain? You look at certain cultures that don't accept mental health issues as
At
problem.
all, right?
Then they actually, when they have anxiety, they experience more physical problem versus anxiety as some other cultures do, where you shake, you're anxious, you're and all the anxiety symptoms. So it shows up in different ways.
Yes.
And Freud started out by talking about conversion and the whole pain concept.
Right.
So
And anxiety.
Thanks, Father Freud.
Yeah.
you take my ring away.
We have about 5 more minutes left.
Okay.
Tell our audience where they can find
Thank
you.
you. I was gonna get there.
Yeah. Okay. So, the best way to find me, because locations are
In our
various,
studio today.
Right.
right here, yeah, is you can check my website, which is bodyspiritmindworld.org. Again, that's bodyspiritmindworld.org. You can use my phone number, which is 248-633-6902.
Say it one more time.
248-633-6902.
Okay.
And then you can also email me, and my email is praj@bodyspiritmind.world. Again, praj@bodyspiritmind.world.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with before we end tonight's show?
I would just like to say that, I hope you guys got something out of this, and I think this intervention is for anyone. I don't think it's anything about looking at your neighbor or measurement or any kind of, it's just all about you. And I think anybody can take this 3 concepts of body, spirit, mind and really improve the quality of their life and really live to their fullest capability.
I'm really happy, to see actually a psychotherapist who just uses this kind of approach, very open-minded, and here is what has worked, and it works. And I think it's something concrete that people can utilize starting day one, right? To get some relief, because that's why people come to see us. They're in pain, right? And if you tell them we're gonna do a couple years of psychoanalysis, you're like,
what?
Sure,
Am I
okay.
crazy?
And then maybe you'll feel good. Yeah.
Right, and we're gonna talk about trauma, right?
Right.
No, it's just difficult to approach it in that way. So, there's seems like plenty of problems and pain right now for people to engage in mental health services.
Right.
So, good to have you, Pam.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Fishta, next week we're going to be talking about trauma. We're going to have Marvin Williams with us.
Yep.
And he has a book where he talks about childhood trauma.
Okay.
And how it impacted his life. Maybe you can call into the show
excellent,
next week.
Excellent speaker, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And we have some things that will be coming up. I know June 18th, TC Readers Lounge, which is another platform that I have for indie authors. We're going to be having an author showcase on June the 18th from 4 to 8 p.m. right here at WJZZ. So I hope you all can come out for that. It is a free event. We will have authors there as well as vendors. Maybe we can have Dr. Fishta's wife give us a wine basket to raffle off. We'll see what happens. I'll just have to put it out there. You never know. So we'll see. Helga, can we get a wine basket, please?
From Italy.
From Italy, so we can raffle off. Hopefully, maybe she'll call us like, now!
She still owes you the white wine, by the way.
Well, you know what? As long as Helga has it, I know I'll have it.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
What do you have coming up next?
In terms of
Your career, what writing? What do you have coming up? Or do you?
Well, I recently published a paper, my first paper, and I finished a certificate at Wayne State in social work, social welfare, and research. So I've been studying help-seeking behavior of South Asian women in domestic violence.
Interesting.
So I hope to continue that and add more to that study.
All right. Yeah, because you brought a study here that you did in 2000 and just last year. How was it doing that study? We have actually we only have 12 seconds left.
The study was long, 10 years of work that I summarized, and it can be used across all cultures, and we can all learn from it. So
okay, I'm gonna look this up. And again, thank you for coming and being our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to In Session on WJZZ Cool TV. Tune in next week and each and every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. See you next week.
bye.
So That's a nice. That's published by you.
Yes.
Very nice.
So I brought it for you guys to,
Yeah.
if you want
Thank
to take
you.
a look at it.
Thank
yeah.
you.
You want to take this home and then bring it